Hello, everybody. It's Laura from Healthy Carnivore. Uh, Happy Monday. I'm going to go a little bit over my backstory to lead me to where I became Healthy Carnivore. So in 1991, I was 313 pounds after listening to bad advice from my physician, who was a new physician. I had went from 240 at graduation up to 313 pounds in less than a year's time. I did get offered a statin, which I did refuse to take. I did go research on my own back when you actually went to the library and did research. And just everything I looked at just kind of pointed to like low carb, getting away from things that were, you know, just super processed foods, things that came in a box, in a bag, stuff like that. So that is what I chose to do. I did that. And in 9 months' time, I lost 153 pounds. My triglycerides went from 1,000 at least. That's as high as their monitor went. They didn't do hemoglobin A1C at the time. And my triglycerides at 9 months were down to 33. So my doctor was very happy with himself and his cholesterol medicine, even though it does not um, cause you to lose weight. And I'd lost 153 pounds. So he did get fired that day. And I was very upset that, I wasn't against learning, going out and figuring things out. I just expected my physician, who was freshly out of medical school, to probably be, you would expect them to be as up on all the newest stuff out there, the newest, studies, the newest everything. And no, that was not true. So really good at prescribing medications. That seems to be, and managing diseases instead of helping get rid of disease and help people find they're healthy. So anyway, if you guys watch this and you like it, please hit the like button, share it if there's somebody you think would get good information out of this. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not tell you that I'm coming on here. So, first, before we go into tonight's context, I'm going to go back and just kind of see who's here and say hi to everybody here in the beginning. So, Freethinker is here. Hello. Cheryl is here. Let's see. B, would you do a live explaining the over 8 forms of potassium and their uses? I will. Um, yes, I think that's very important. I will do that. Let's see. Hey, Tara, you're here. Simpson, hello. How are you? Let's see. Da-da-da. Running tap. Good day, Laura. It's Jeannie from Australia. Hello. T, how are you? Karen, hello. Let's see. All right. Mhm. Cute. I like that. Okay. So tonight's discussion, we're going to talk about magnesium. So I'm going to talk about how magnesium works, what the things are, that, and the reasons why we need those. Okay. So it is one of the most underrated minerals. It's not a vitamin, it's a mineral. So it is one of the most underrated minerals, and most everybody I've ever come across is deficient in that. Now, when you take a blood test, it's going to show a certain amount in your serum. That's really not totally accurate. Really, you need a cellular type test, which is expensive, to know if you are deficient in it, except for looking at symptoms. Okay. So, what magnesium does, it is super important in our body. It is involved in over 300 of the enzymatic reactions that go on inside the body. So, it's basically, because you know me and cars, it's basically the spark plug for your cells. Okay. Without it, cells do not get these responses. Okay. So it helps in cells by helping make ATP, which is your energy producer inside the mitochondria. So it also helps relax the heart. So, and other muscles, but especially the heart. Calcium's excitatory, magnesium's relax. Okay. It regulates your nerve signals, as I said, kind of like a spark plug wire. It helps balance out blood sugars. It supports strong bones because it's one of those minerals that goes into that bone matrix you hear me talk about a lot. Okay. It helps at keeping blood pressure steady. And if anybody's ever had preeclampsia, thought they were going to have a stroke, things like that, mag. They always give you mag, okay? Magnesium by IV. So without enough magnesium, your cells will not work efficiently. It's really just that simple. They'll try to work, but they're not going to be working as you would want them to. So the reasons um, why we need it and why we are low. Okay. So most people are magnesium deficient because our soils are depleted, and we know that. I mean, you can go out there, as I told a farmer, actually, he was a producer, several years ago, probably close to 20, that I'm like, your ground's dead. And he's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, you can go out to my garden, take a shovel out there, turn the dirt over, and I've got creepy crawlies, I've got worms, snakes, every kind of beetle you could imagine, grubs, all kinds of stuff in there. It's alive. And I said, if you do that in any field that has monocrops of corn, soybeans, wheat, any of that stuff, there's nothing in the soil. It is dead. It has been depleted. So our water is super filtered, which we kind of have to filter it now because of all the chemical crap that's in it. But you do need some of those bone matrix and some of those minerals. And then the majority of most people's diets is super processed. And even if they say, what do they call it? Enriched. I love it. Enriched. It is fake chemical makeups of these things like folic acid, which isn't even real. So anyway, stress, caffeine, alcohol, sugar, and certain meds like some diuretics and proton pump inhibitors. So diuretics are going to be like torsemide, furosemide, spironolactone, hydrochlorothiazide. PPIs are going to be like your omeprazole, pantoprazole. Um, what is the other one? There's several of them, but it's those acid reducing medications, and most of the time they're a capsule. All of these deplete magnesium even faster from our systems. So basically, the more stressed, the more busy you are, the more magnesium your body burns through. Because when you are doing, you know, um, caffeine, not normal amount, but high amounts of caffeine, alcohol, sugar, these things, it is a stress on the body on top of just real normal everyday stress. Okay. Um, so what cells do with magnesium? So inside the cells, magnesium attaches to the ATP. That is where the energy molecule, that's where it activates it. So if you are super low on magnesium, that process doesn't happen. Um, so that ATP is where that energy comes from. So if you're missing part of that cycle because you're missing that mineral, that doesn't happen. So it just misfires, just sits there and it's like this, kind of goes around. It's not going to go anywhere. So no magnesium basically means no energy. So that is a lot of the symptoms most people will notice. I will tell you that when I went from keto to carnivore, I did it overnight because I'm an all or none personality. I also fasted, a lot, and I wasn't really taking in a lot of salt at the time, like the Redmond salt or Celtic or Baja. And stood up from bed one morning and went right down on my face. Now I did not hurt myself. Um, and I was right back up, of course. And my husband was like, "Did you pass out?" And I was like, "No, no, I tripped." But that's what it was. I was very low on potassium and I was low on magnesium. So um, magnesium also helps cells pump electrolytes like potassium and calcium in and out. So you got calcium channels, you got potassium channels. Magnesium kind of helps that pump work correctly. Okay. Keeping your nerves firing and your muscles contracting and relaxing like they're supposed to. Um, when I have seen patients come into the hospital setting years ago and they'd have these real rigid, like their arms would just be rigid and they couldn't hardly walk. And it was like magnesium. Immediately, you just knew we need to check magnesium. And sure enough, you're doing a mag rider. Floppy muscles where they can't hardly walk and that's sodium almost every time. And then, of course, you can put these people on a monitor. You can see peak T waves. They're going to be hypokalemia, which is too much potassium. There's all very easy to see. Um, so low magnesium can cause, these are the things that I would watch out for that'd be like, okay, it's probably this muscle cramps or twitching. So a lot of people will get that up around the eye. That can be magnesium, that can be calcium, but that twitch in the eye right there, you'll get that. Heart palpitations, anxiety or panic feelings, poor sleep, headaches or migraines, constipation. Now, I will tell you, my favorite magnesium form is magnesium glycinate. There's also magnesium L-threonate. But if you do have severe constipation, first I say up your fat, like MCT oil. If that doesn't work, magnesium citrate is the one that is for constipation. Not all forms, as I said, are the same. Each form has its own purpose. So, magnesium glycinate, like I said, this is my favorite. It's very calming. It's gentle on the stomach. I take it on an empty stomach. It's very good for anxiety. It's good for sleep, muscle relaxation, and overall nervous system support. So, I take mine before bed. I take it with zinc. I've always taken zinc at night. And I find that that has really, I mean, I sleep really well most every single night, unless I'm like upset about like patient outcome or something like that. Otherwise, I pretty much sleep if I stay away from any news channels before bed. Um, Magnesium malate. This is one that I've seen a lot of doctors prescribe. So it's bound to a malic acid, which boosts energy and helps reduce fatigue and fibromyalgia type pain. I would not take that one before bed. If you do, you are going to be awake. Magnesium citrate, as we talked about earlier, it is very absorbable, but can be a mild laxative. So if you need it for that reason, that is one I would take. But I would not, that would not be the one that I would use the majority of the time. Um, then magnesium threonate, which would be my second overall pick if it was for me. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, okay? And it supports memory, focus, and cognitive function, great for brain fog or mood. I'm going to tell you what I did during nursing school. I took magnesium threonate and I took ginkgo biloba. Now, everybody was like, "Oh, that's just rah, whatever." It really, I'm positive it did help. Another one is magnesium taurate. So combined with taurine, it supports heart rhythm, blood pressure, and overall cardiovascular health. So this is one that a lot of patients I have seen in the past that have like AFib or they have PBCs, just extra heartbeats, extra P waves. This is a good one for them. Magnesium chloride is well absorbed and it is often used in like your magnesium sprays. So, like, I make for my mom, she's got restless leg syndrome, and I have like a magnesium spray that is made with the magnesium chloride. It works the best for that. And then I just put it in like a jojoba oil with a little castor oil, and because that castor is going to push that in, and she just puts that and then wears like long pants and does fine with it. A lot better than taking ropinirole or something like that that has lots of other side effects. So magnesium sulfate is another one that you'll hear about. This is your classic Epsom salt. So it is best for detox baths, sore muscles, and even supporting liver pathways. This one I probably seen the most in the nursing home, magnesium oxide. It's cheap, poorly absorbed. It works mainly as a strong laxative, not great for daily magnesium support, but I will tell you probably 85% of the patients in the nursing home, that is the one they're on. It's like magnesium oxide, 400 milligrams all the time. So who needs it most? Pretty much everyone can benefit from taking this, and if you have none of these symptoms, maybe your levels are great and you're not depleted, and that's great. But if you have any of those issues, so I would say if you're under chronic stress, if you're eating low carb, keto, carnivore, ketovore, since insulin changes the shifting of magnesium, okay, the way magnesium handling happens, lower insulin slows down how we transport it. So by being a lower carb, especially if you're like zero carb, you may need to have more of that. And some people will not notice this for several years before they're like, okay, like something's going on. Athletes and anybody who sweats a lot, okay, because you're going to lose your electrolytes that way. People with high blood pressure or heart palpitations, because as that switch is going off in those muscles, they're utilizing more of these electrolytes. And people with severe sleep issues, migraines, or anxiety. Who doesn't have a little anxiety? Really? It's like 2026. So, the ways that I use this is not medical advice. I am just a little nurse, but the way that I have done it as an adult, I have always taken anywhere from 200 to 600 milligrams of the magnesium glycinate. Sometimes I'm 200, 240. Sometimes I've been 440. Sometimes, I mean, it just depends. Um, During the summertime, when I'm doing a lot of work out in the garden for my husband, he's so lucky I love him. Um, I do go higher on the magnesium. I do 99 of potassium, and then I increase my salt because the electrolytes. So, with most of these magnesiums, most all of them would be better taken at nighttime before you go to bed, just because they help with sleep and they help with muscle recovery. And always start low and go slow. And when I say that, like when I start something, I always do it for at least a week, if not 2 weeks, and see, do I notice any shifts in how I'm feeling, sleeping, any of those things. And then you just can come up. If you do too much too fast on even any of the magnesiums, you can get loose stools. Most of it, though, is going to be the magnesium citrate, but each of them can have a little bit of a laxative effect. So, bottom line is magnesium runs the show inside the cells. It really, really is that important. When you are low, you will feel it. Now, you may not realize that that's what's causing it, but that's one of those, we always talk about N equals one experiments where you got to try something, see how it works for you, mark it down, keep it in your notes section on your phone. Like, hey, when I do this, I feel this way. When I do this, I feel that way. I think that's very important. And then you want to try to find clean, well absorbed forms that fit your goals. So for myself, I'm always going to do a capsule. I'm never going to take any vitamin or mineral in a hard, cooked, compressed, smashed, formed tablet. I just don't find that they do anything for me. And some people, if you have the MTHFR gene or the MTH gene, any of those, you're going to have a little bit of trouble methylating. So you may have to go out there and find the methylated forms or the liposomal forms that you would put under your tongue and allow to kind of do its thing. So hopefully that's helpful information on magnesium. I do love my magnesium, but I do love my sleep. And like I said, I've been a pretty good sleeper. The only time I wasn't was as a baby. I was colicky, but that's my mom's fault because she smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day. So I don't feel super bad about that. I feel like she's done that. Let's see. I just want to see who's here. Da-ba-da-ba-da. Michelle. Michelle's here. Hey. And I need to go to Ireland. That's where my husband's family is from. I need to go there. And my grandfather, he was Scottish Irish. Yes, Scottish and Irish. He was a Knox, Knox. You do have a beautiful country. That is true. Let's see. Hey, Kat. Yeah, magnesium 3 and 8. So let me look at my paper. Yeah. Yeah, magnesium 3 and 8 is the one that crosses the blood-brain barrier. So that's the one that supports memory, focus, stuff like that. So that's one of the, like, my top two are going to be magnesium glycinate and then magnesium, it's L3 and 8. But you know, let's see if there's anything else. I've always taken magnesium and zinc together, probably for 35 years. or better. I don't, yeah. I've seen that where they say that they interact. My levels stay really, really well, and I take them together. I mean, literally, they're in my hand together. So it doesn't seem to do that for me. But yeah, I mean, you can always see and do things a little differently. Oaktown. Hey, Amy, how are you doing? Boy, you got some snow, Amy. You keep it. I do not want it. That's a lot of snow. I saw that. I'm like, damn, where is your car, girl? Crazy. Let's see. I've recently been diagnosed with carcinoid lung tumor and would appreciate advice on correct magnesium to take. Much appreciated. Also dealing with long COVID-19 and vax. Thank you. I would definitely, if it was for me, I would be doing magnesium glycinate and I would probably be doing the higher dose, like the 600 um, every night. I would do, um, I would look into, there's a couple different doctors out there that I would look into. Okay. And I would see, I would try to follow maybe a protocol. I don't know if you, I'm sure many of you on here remember Jeff DeProsperous, and he always followed Thomas Siegfried, Dr. Thomas Siegfried's protocol. But I would go and look at something like that. I would do high dose vitamin C as well, like 2,000 milligrams a day for sure. And then I would look at the fasting approaches that those doctors talk about. That is what I would do. And I would avoid anything that converts to a sugar with like big time. That's what I would do. Steadfast, hello. See, Dr. Westman says a spoonful of milk, magnesium can be used. Oh, Ciao, CEO. Oh, it probably can. I'm not a like Pepto-Bismol. Like as a kid, my mom would shake that up if I had an upset stomach and she'd pour that. I just vomit. I can't do any of those liquidy thick. Oh, oh, yeah. Nobody, I can never go in a nursing home because they love to give people that. Let's see. Well, running tap, there are vegetables that have magnesium in them. The only problem is if I was going to do that, I would make sure that you ferment them. I'd either ferment them or I would cook them to death because if you don't break down that cellular, you're not going to be able to get to it. Um, it's kind of like carrots have beta carotene, but you don't really convert that into vitamin A because it's all tied up in that cellulose and we can't break that down. It's non-soluble fiber. So you have to cook it to death or ferment it. But a lot of your vegetables, your um, potatoes, like your white potatoes, a lot of the stuff that comes from under the ground would be the ones that would be better for that. But you better cook it, cook it, cook it. So Chow says he does liquid magnesium from Keto Chow. Yeah, I've got those keto. What are these? Ugh, I bought these like 15 years ago. Wow. Okay, so yep, I've got like the electrolyte drops that were made by the Keto Chow. I don't think I've ever, nope, I've never used them, but I bought them just to have in case. You never know. Just seeing what all it has in it. Magnesium, 45 milligrams, which is 10% of what you need in a day. But I mean, it would get you by. Let's see. It tastes awful. Does it? I'm going to try it just because I never have. Doesn't smell like anything. Okay. Yep, you're right. It does taste like crap. Mm-hmm. Ooh. Wow, wow, wow. Let's see. Simpson said, I missed your dose of magnesium glycinate. So I do anywhere between 200 to 600, depending on time of year. If I'm out sweating a lot, things like that, I stay closer to the 600. But 200 to 400 pretty much daily is what I do. So I think, yeah, yeah, that's good. Yeah, leg cramps are horrible, horrible, horrible. Let's see. We would love to see you here. Trying to see what they're talking about. We would love to see you here. I've got to get my passport. I have all my documents ready to go do that because I refuse to get the what's the little Nazi thing with the yellow star on it? Real ID. That's it. Yeah, I refuse that. So no, thank you. I will not partake in that. So once I get that for my husband's, I got to be quiet because his birthday's coming up. But for his 70th birthday, which will be in 6 years, maybe before that, but I would like to do that. So I got to make sure I have that all done. Yeah. So Amy's saying they're buried. We've gotten over, oh my God. Is that 70 inches? 70 inches of snow since October. Wow. Wow, that's crazy. And yes, Thomas Seaford. Oh my, that is absolutely crazy. Crazy. Yeah. Diamond, yeah, you are. There's absolutely no smell to that. That is so like, that's worse than like normal sailing. That is, yeah, I will not do that again. I've never tasted it. So, Keto Chow makes the electrolytes that you just drink and a magnesium alone new version called salt tea. Oh, hmm. Now I use those electrolyte packets from a company called Salty, but it's SALTT. So I think it's a little different than what that one is. Um, but I'm trying to think of the guy's name that owns the company. I met him at Keto Palooza, but I can't remember now. Okay, let's see. Another thing. Alexis Dr. Berry recommends 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate for men and slightly lower for women. Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. Zinc, men tend to be more deficient in zinc than females because you guys have a higher iron load usually. So, yeah. Chris, you're right. That's Chris. I was thinking it was Chris. And then I was like, is that Cooking Nashville guy? Isn't that his name? But yeah, I don't think I'm going to do the Keto Palooza thing this year. I thought I was going to, but I am speaking at Robin's meetup in Kalamazoo September 5th. She's going to have a meetup there, and that's Carnivorous Grandma. And so I'm going to be in Kalamazoo, Michigan, September 5th, and do her event. I think Dr. Kiltz is going to be there. I should have brought my phone in here. I could have told you who all was going to be there. I can't remember, but there's going to be several people talking there. So, Miriam, yep, she was there. Yeah, that'll be fun. Awesome. Yeah, I have some friends in Colorado that are the carnivore hunters. It's two brothers, and hopefully they're going to be able to come too. That would be awesome. Stupid phone. Running tap. So the meats that I have had checked, which were beef from a local farmer who raises them like you're supposed to, does have some, but again, even his ground, which he's been very mindful of his ground for, the last 5, 6 years, is still not as high level as what you would expect. If it was, my magnesium level should be absolutely phenomenal because that's all I eat is beef, deer, lamb, ribeye fat, salt, water, the occasional chicken egg from like my daughter or somebody that I know that I can trust. That's it. So I eat mostly fat. Let's just be honest. I'm 80/20. I'm 80% fat, 20% protein. but I do have to have that magnesium. So, and some people spill magnesium and potassium and all the other electrolytes. We're all kind of different on that. Got a Zoom meeting, so I will say bye. Hey, see you later, Simpson. Thank you. So let's go over next week's talk. So I'm going to go over some of the types of plants that I have in my local area, like in the Midwest, let's just say the Midwest, and some of the things that I use them for. You all know that I make like my elderberry tincture, dandelion root, tincture, oregano oils, lavender stuff. All of that is local. Um, I'm trying to get comfrey to grow here. And if I can do that, then I will be working on that. I've got one more week and my respiratory tincture, which I'm gonna have to find another name because a certain man named Russell Mitchell will not do anything that's a tincture because he says it's not manly. I think that's rude. But anyway, so I will go over these things next week and kind of go over the things, what they're used for, what I use them for with my people, my clients, and my family. My family are always my guinea pigs and myself. I like when I made the hyaluronic acid, I use that on myself before I ever put it out there online because I want to make sure that this stuff tastes like ass. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that it was legit, that it's going to do what we think it's supposed to do. Um, because I don't want to ever have something that doesn't work. So yeah. Don't listen to Russ. He calls me an Irish floozy. He does. I've heard him say it. We'll be on tomorrow night. So tomorrow night I will be on live with Russ. I'll be here on my channel, or you can go to Russ's channel, Homesick Buckeye, and we will be doing the wee grilling where usually he sings if he's not under the weather because you don't want me to sing. And usually we do learn something. So it's a fun time. He's way more chill. I'm more about education, learn, learn, learn. And he's like, take it down a notch. Let's have a little fun. And I'm more like, let's educate. So anyway, I will definitely see you guys. Oh boy. Oh, I smell my husband's cooking something. I can smell it. Smells like hamburger. Anyway, so I will let you guys go. I've got somebody that needs 3 bottles of elderberry tincture I'm taking tomorrow. So anyway, I will let you guys go. I appreciate you guys for being here. And as I always say, meet, heat, eat, and repeat. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow with that Homesick Buckeye, 7:30 Central Standard Time, or next week. See ya.